All right. So here we are, week 3. This is the second live session for the week. And what we're still working on our boxes and our labels. So last night, I got this up because last night we went over the box and how to apply graphics to the box. So what we're going to be doing tonight is I'm going to spend a little bit of time recoloring the logo so that I can show you some things about how to recolor logo and how to select colors. I did a little bit of talking about this last night, but we'll go over that a little bit more. I'll show you a few tricks that I use to recolor my logo, to give my logo kind of an interesting look. And then I will go into taking a look at the actual bottle labels. Let me see if I can open that. Hold on, open. Let me get that open. Bottle label. There we go, right there. There it is. Let me get it open. There's our labels. Let's go back to this. So basically where we're heading with this whole thing is we definitely are going to do this. This is a definite, got to be done. And then we definitely want to do this. This is an option, but it's a very nice option, and it is something that is very easy to do. So what I'm going to be working on tonight primarily is talking about how to prepare ourselves to do these things right here. That's what the focus of tonight's lesson will be on. I'm going to go under the assumption that at some point you'll have your labeling done, your box labeling done, and you'll have your wine bottle labeling done, and then we can actually go into the process of rendering them onto these 3D objects, which we'll probably look at a little bit later on tonight, and then of course we'll cover that next week in week 4. Okay, but we went through the process of talking about this. Looks like, yeah, this is just an image. I can't really show you the. Let me see here. Go to File, Open. Let me go to another one. There we go, right there. Let me open this guy up. There we go. Okay, so here's what I basically have. In order to make boxes, we have a choice. There's 3 ways that we can make boxes. We'll talk about this shortly. But the bottom line is one of the ways we are going to do it is by doing a 3D. And the 3D requires us to make a shape which is equivalent to one panel. This is the shape right here. If I bring it over, you can see it fits one panel. It's one panel, all right? And then that's going to be colored. And I do that just by basically coming over here and dragging a rectangular shape over one of the panels, just like that, just like that. And it doesn't have to be dead on 100% exact because this is a mock-up now. This is not artwork, it's a mock-up, but you make it as close as possible, like that, all right? Then you can move it over here. Let me replace that one right there with the one that I just did, so you see that I did this. Bring this over onto here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make sure the fill is selected. You click the eye bucket, the eyedropper tool, click on that, and you get the color fill. And then what you're going to do is save this, all right? You're going to save it. Now, what you want to do is you want to go edit, copy, edit, paste in place, and you want to bring another one over here. And what you want to do with that is you want to set it to default black and white, and then remove the fill for the time being, and eventually we're going to remove the stroke. Now, why am I doing that? I'm doing that because I need to make symbols of my side panel, my front panel, and even my back panel, okay? So I'm not going to do this right now because what I want to do is I want to jump in and start working on my label. But I just wanted to give you an idea of where we're heading with producing this 3D box. So I actually have part of this work done already. If you look at my symbols panel right here, I have symbols created. There's my front cover symbol. There's my side symbol. There is my top symbol. And there is my front label symbol. And what I've done actually is I've dragged out instances of each one of those symbols, and they're all sitting right there. That's what an instance looks like. And if I come up close on this, you'll see that it has anchor points and line segments, but in the center, it's got that little cross. See the little cross? Watch when I click on this symbol, instance. Same thing. This one here has a wireframe around it, okay? In the middle, there's a little cross. That is what an instance looks like, an instance, all right? It is not the symbol. The symbol is in the symbol panel. Here's another one. Click on this. You have your wireframe or your, your outline with anchor points, and in the center, that little cross, okay? Those are instances. And the instances, we need the instances because what we're going to be doing eventually is we're going to be rendering a 3D object out of this shape right here, okay? And what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to put graphics on top of that rendered 3D shape. And in order to do that, I have to have my graphics on a transparent background. That's why I've created this guy over here. It's transparent, but it has a black stroke on it. But when I'm absolutely done with this, I'm going to remove the black stroke, and then it'll be ready to be made into a symbol. But I'm going to do that in a little while. So I'm just kind of showing you this a little bit right now so that you get a sense of where we're heading. But where we're going to go first is we're going to go into our label. Okay, so let me go into my bottle AI. There's our bottle AI. And this bottle has been rendered with my front label and my back label. So this is what we're going to ultimately do to display the label. And it makes a great presentation. I mean, it is not like art quality that you can use for reproduction, but it makes a tremendous presentation, and it truly isn't that difficult to do. And I've done it twice. I'll do it one more time, and I'll show you how to render the whole thing. But eventually, we'll get to that. Right now, what I'm going to be working on first, I want to be working on the logo. So let's go back to the logo, and here's the logo. Or actually, let's see here. Chateau. There's the label. Okay, so there's the label. That's what the label is going to look like. All right. But before we do this, let's go in and talk a little bit about recoloring the logo. So here's the logo. This is what you get if you're going to be working on Chateau Vineyards, which I believe you are. That's the logo that you get. This is my finished logo. This is what I did to my logo to make my logo ready to be used in my production. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be talking about the steps that I went through to get this to look like this. That's what this is all about. It involves the use of the swatches panel. It involves color, which I chose, and we're going to talk about that color very briefly, and I'll explain how you might go about getting color. There's two different ways. We talked a little bit about it last night. We'll talk about it again. And since this color, since this logo is going to be used in a 4-color process project, it's very important that we have the right color mode for this, and we want to make sure that it's CMYK. So we're going to check all that. But the very first thing that I want to do to get this ready to work on is I need to put this logo against something like this dark blue field, okay? So I can see when I start changing the colors how it relates to the background that I'm going to be using in my project. So to do that, it's very simple. I'm just going to come over here, and I'm going to get my rectangle tool, and I'm going to drag myself a rectangle which is just big enough to cover the entire logo, like that. I am going to choose that blue color to fill it with, and I can take the stroke off because I really don't need the stroke. Then I want to go Object, Arrange, and I want to send it to the back. So now I have my logo art sitting on top of my field of blue. So whenever I do to this logo now, I'm going to be able to see quite differently, and it will look more accurate. It'll give me a much better idea of how this logo is going to work. And this is very, very simple stuff to do. It just requires a little bit of thought and a little bit of effort to make this work out. So I got my colors up here, and I have white, and I have black, and I have this light blue that I created. I have my dark blue that I created, and I had my brown, which I created, and I had my green, which I created. The only color that I do not have yet is that brown, that dark brown color right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to produce that color. And I'm going to do it, I'm going to try to do it both ways. I'm going to use a color from my color book, and I'm going to see if I can locate the color in there. And if I can't, then I may end up having to go into my color panel, and I may have to end up adjusting it in the color panel. So we'll see how that goes. All right, so before I do that, what I do want to do, though, is I want to just click on one of these. I'll use the green color. I'm going to double click on it, and it's going to bring up. There we go. Oh, boy. Okay, green. There it is. So the color. What happened? Oh, did the program crash? Yes, it did. All right. Oh, my God. All right, well, my program crashed. So now we're going to have to wait until I relaunch the program and reopen it. The program crashed. It might have been that I had too many files open in it. That could be the problem. So let me get it back open, and let me open up my logo again, and we'll try it with just a logo. Maybe that was what the problem was. And I'll open them up one at a time. That could be what the problem is. So let's go to File, Open. And let me just open up my, where are we at here? It is right there. And recolor my logo. There we go. Okay, so let's open this up, and let's try it again with just one file open. Maybe that will have better luck with. Okay, all right, so we're back. Okay, so I lost everything. So let me come in here and just quickly make that rectangular shape. Okay, and let me get my swatches, and let me fill it with that blue, like I did before. Remove the stroke because I really don't need it. Go Object, Arrange, Send to Back. All right. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my swatches panel once again, and I'm just going to double click on this. There it is. Okay. And it's green, and the color type is process color. Okay, so this is, only reason I'm doing this is I just want to verify with you that this is process color, all right? Now this guy right here says web color, click to correct. I don't want the web color. I want this to be RGB, so I want to leave this just like that. But it's process color, okay? That's what I'm most concerned with. Now, I hit OK. Now, I want to just let you look at this. You see in the corner here, there's that little white corner. It's kind of clipped. This is an important thing that it's telling you. By looking at that and seeing that little corner that's clipped like that, that tells you basically that this is a process color. Now, how do I know that? I'll show you. I'm going to double click on this, bring it back up. I'm going to change the color type from process color to the other choice, which is spot color. Okay? And I'm just going to hit OK, change it to spot color. Now it's reading spot color. And I hit OK. And can you see what happened? There's a little spot in there. The color now has a little spot in it. Very important that you learn the difference between these two. Because if we are working on a 4-color process logo and you accidentally create a spot color for one of your colors, that color is going to have to print on its own plate. And it's going to cost additional money. The printing process will cost additional money to make that plate up and make that and do the make ready on it. So you don't want to do that unless your customer is telling you specifically to do this. And believe it or not, there are times when they do. But normally what you would want is you want all your colors to be process colors. So the difference is, if you take a look at the beige one there, you'll see that there's no spot in that corner. That's a very important thing for you to understand, a very important difference for you to know. You take a look at the green one in that corner, you got a spot. So when you see that and you know you're working with process, you're going to go back in and you're going to change it from spot to process and hit OK. Now, it's gone. That's a process color. So the real reason that I did this, because I didn't have a spot color to begin with, the reason I did this is because I wanted to show you this and explain that there is a difference between the two. And it's very important for you to know the difference, because ultimately that is what you're going to be relying on when you create color accurately. And it all depends on the project. If you're working on a project which is a Pantone project, it's a spot color project, then your colors need to be spot color. And that's all you do. All you do to change it is have your color up here, you double click on it, you go into color type, and you just change it from process to spot or spot to process. Very simple, okay? All right, now I'm going to create one more color because I think I have all the colors I need here, basic colors that I need here, except that dark brown color. To do that, I'm going to try to start off going to the swatch libraries. And I'm going to go to the color books. And I'm going to go down to, there are a bunch of them in here, but the one that I think probably makes best sense for what we're doing is the Pantone plus CMYK coded. What that means essentially is that the color I will be choosing is available as a Pantone color. It is also available in CMYK, and the colors are set up so they would go on a coded stock. That's exactly what that means. Pantone colors, they are. CMYK colors, they also are. So they're both of those colors are accurate within the color I pick on a coded stock. If I went to the one below this, it's Pantone plus CMYK uncoded. Pantone color bridge coded is another type of color system. Pantone color bridge uncoded, there's metallics, there are pastels and neons. There are a bunch of them in here, but the most important thing that I think you should know about is the fact that there are different kinds of stocks. There are basically two different types of stocks. There are coded stocks and there are uncoded stocks. This package that we're going to be working on, I'm going to say 99.9 certain it is going to be on a coded stock. That's why I'm going to choose the Pantone CMYK coded. There is my color book. And I open the color book. There are thousands, literally, of colors in here. And I'm just going to scroll around. I'm going to move it as close as I can. I'm looking for something that looks like that color. It seems to me I went in here earlier today and I had a hard time finding that color. It's a tough one. It's not something that's really in here. So I had to do some modification with it. But I'm going to look and see if I can find one. There's something that's, it's not red enough. This one's not dark enough. So I'm going to have to pick something. See, and I'm already out of that color. So I'm stuck in this area right here. My gut tells me that the one that's going to be closest to that is that guy right there. Yeah, probably that guy right there. Okay, so now I have that in there. And that Pantone color is Pantone P5016C. If I sit over top of it, Pantone P5016C. So now I can close that color book because that's the only thing I wanted to do was generate that one color. But you can clearly see that that color, and by the way, I want to get that off there and let me deselect this. You can clearly see that that color isn't correct. That color is not that color right there. It's not right. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to do a little bit of work on this color to see whether we could come up with a version of that color which is a little closer to that right there. Okay, so that's my next step. But if I open this up by double clicking on it, okay, you can see the Pantone P5016C is a process color, which is what we're looking for. And here's the RGB on it, which is not what I want to mess with. But what I will do is I'm just going to call this roof red or roof brown and hit OK. And now what I want to do here is I want to try to adjust the color so that the color looks more like this. I don't think I want to use RGB to do that. What I think I want to use is I want to use hue, saturation, and brightness. Now, the reason I'm using hue, saturation, and brightness is because I can actually darken this thing up by using that slider. See how I'm darkening it up? Look at that. It's coming out. There it is. It's actually getting pretty close to what I'm looking for. And I think that's pretty close. If you take a look at that, let me bring it over here. See, that's pretty close. Now, what I might do is I might also remove a little bit of the saturation on it and make it even closer. Yeah, there we go. That's pretty good. I made it 79. That's pretty close. You know, I could probably go a little bit less down there. That's even closer, I think. I like that. That's pretty good. So there's my color. So basically, what you need to understand is I'm able to take and modify colors not only in HSB. I can go to grayscale. I can go to RGB, HSB, CMYK Lab. But I find that when I'm actually trying to do a modification like you see me doing right here, the best way to do that is to go from RGB into HSB, okay? And then I'm just going to hit OK. And now you can see my color has changed. And if I double click on it, there it is. There's my color. And it's still a process color. So that's how I created that color on the roof there. I started off with a color that came from a color book. And unfortunately, the color that I got from the color book wasn't quite right. So I went in and I double-clicked on the swatch in the swatches panel. I converted this to HSB, hue, saturation, and brightness. It was originally on RGB. I converted it to HSB. And then what I did was I modified the saturation. What saturation means is that if you bring it all the way over to 100, that color is fully saturated. As I bring it to the left, what I'm doing is I'm removing some of the color. And the more of the color that I remove, the more neutral it becomes, the more gray it becomes, because the color is being taken away and it's being replaced by gray. Now here, what I'm doing is I'm actually adding darkness to the color. Okay, so there are literally tens of thousands of color variations that you can generate by just dragging a few sliders around. And my goal was to come up with something that's pretty much like that. Now, it might be a little bit dark, so what I could do is I could try dragging this back just a little bit and see if I can lighten it up. And when I do, it gets a little redder. So I could take this guy and I could maybe move that in this direction a little bit. And it's starting to get a little bit weird on me. So I think I'm going to probably get stuck leaving it right about like that. Right there is probably about as good as it's going to get for me. Okay? So I hit OK on that, and now I have that color. So there's how I literally created all those colors. I went in and I found them in a color book, and the color book that I used, just for a quick refresher, I went into the color book and I used the Pantone CMYK coded. And the reason I used the Pantone CMYK color coded color book is because I didn't want pastels, I didn't want metallics. I just wanted CMYK and Pantone. All right, and I used that book for that reason. And again, I knew I'm working on coded stock, so that's why I chose that. If I knew I was going to be using uncoated stock, I would just simply use this right here. And the book would be very similar, except that the colors would be slightly different because they would need to be in order to go on uncoated stock. Coated means that they basically put a varnish of some kind. It's usually a acrylic kind of varnish. They put an acrylic kind of varnish over the paper. The paper is then a bit shiny. If it is uncoated, then there's no varnish on it, and it usually is just a very smooth but flat finished paper. And it's commonly used. Both are commonly used. Okay, so I'm trying to explain this as best I can so that you got a sense of what's what here. Okay, all right, now let's go into here and let's start working on this guy. So right now this thing comes in and it's grouped. Okay, so I have this whole thing grouped here. Now I can go in and I can go object ungroup, and I can ungroup it all the way down. But generally what I like to do is I like to try to keep things grouped. So how to deal with this is, instead of using the regular selection tool, I'm going to click here, and I'm going to slide over to the edge here, and there's like a little tab that I'm going to be sitting on. You can see when I sit on it, it gets dark. When I click, you know, I'm holding the mouse down. When I let go of the mouse, it pops that panel out. Now I have my direct selection tool, which I'm not going to use, but I have my group selection tool, which I'm going to use. Now what this tool does is this tool goes into my grouped object and allows me to select individual elements within that group. So right there, I just clicked on and selected the top portion of that roof. And if I make sure that I have my fill forward, okay, because I'm not going to be putting strokes on this, I'm going to be putting fills on it. Bring out my swatch panel, click on the dark brown, you can see that I get my dark brown, okay? And you could also see that it's slightly different from this, but don't worry about it, it doesn't matter, it's close enough. Do the same thing here, make sure I got the group selection tool, click on that, and if I want, I can hold the shift key down, and I can come over and I can click on that side. And what I've done is I've shift selected these two things. Now I also used, well, I actually used black on that, so I think I'll just wait on that. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click on the brown, roof brown, and now my roof has been colored. All three of my roofs have been colored brown. Okay? So still using the group selection tool, I'm going to click on that area of the building. I'm going to hold the shift key down, click on that area of the building, and then come over here and click on that area of the building. So now I have all three of those areas of the building selected, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to apply my tan color to it. And there's my tan color. Now what I did here on this was I selected this guy. Actually, let me do this first. All right, let me make sure I got my regular or my group selection tool. Come in here and click on my my background, my overall background area. Now, right now, that background area, that border with my line art, all of that's black. I don't want it to be black. I actually want it to be white. So I'm going to click on it to select it, okay? And I'm going to apply white to that. Now I have white. Okay, now as you can see, that caused a lot of trouble down here. So let's go edit undo and let's wait. We'll do that a little later on. Let me get a couple of more things colored first. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start selecting the grassy area, or actually what it is, it's supposed to be the vine area. So I'm going to hold the shift key down and I'm going to just come across here and select all of these guys. Just holding the shift down and clicking on them to select them. I'm shift selecting them, adding to the selection. Each one of these guys are being selected. Okay? Once I get them all selected by holding the shift key and selecting each one after another, I'm going to apply green to all of them. So now I have green on all of these things. But as you can see here, what I did was I varied the green. The reason that we can vary the green like this is because this is a 4-color process job. And we have the ability to add more color variations to a 4-color process job. So that's really why I'm doing what I'm doing, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by, let me close this for a second because I'm going to bring out my, color. Let's see here, where we at? My color, right there, my color panel. Bring out my color panel right there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that one, hold down the shift key, and click on that one. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color to HSB. Now the reason I'm changing it to HSB is because I can come up here if I want. I can change the hue, which I'm not going to do. I can change the saturation, which I'm not going to do. Or I can change the brightness. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to begin to very slowly modify the brightness so that what happens is it gets darker and darker and darker and darker and darker as it moves across this area here. Now I could also do that with a gradient. That's another way I could do it. As a matter of fact, let me do this. Let me just click on this side. Let me do this side using a variation of darker and darker and darker, and then I'll do the other side using a gradient. And then you can see that there are two different ways that you can go about doing this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to 50. Okay? 50. And you can see, oh, it went the wrong way. I'm sorry. Let's go to 40. Let's go to 40. Okay, let's go to 35. 35. There we go, 35. Okay, now I'm going to click on the next one. And again, I'm going to set that to HSB. And I'm going to bring this one down to 30. Or 29, that's close enough. 29. Then I'm going to click on the next one. You see, so you see what's happening is it's gradually getting darker and darker and darker and darker as I go along. The only problem with this is you have to convert this. This comes up as color. What you have to do is you have to switch it over to HSB each time. That's the only thing. So I made that 20. I think I made it 29. I'm going to make this 25. Okay, so you see how I'm getting dark, a little bit darker, and then I'm going to switch it again. I'm going to switch it to HSB, and this is going to be 20. Bring it down to 20. There. And then we're going to bring this one down. See how it's getting a little bit darker each time? And then HSB. And let's bring this down to like 15. And 15 right there. Oops, 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 oops. Hard to get it. That's good enough. 15. There we go. Okay. So what I've done basically, now something's not right here. Hold on. Let me just see what's going on with this. That thing doesn't look as dark. That's 14. This is 16. Okay, so this has got to be, then this one is 25. This has got to be 20. Okay, so there's my mistake. For some reason, I ended up at 14. Let's go to 20. There we go. That's better. And then this one here is 15. There. That's good. Okay, so what's happening is you got this thing going darker and darker and darker and darker and darker to that edge. So that's one way that you could do this. The other way that you could do this is by shift selecting, holding that, and shift selecting all of these guys. Shift selecting all of these guys, okay? And then what you're going to do with this is you're going to put a gradient into it, all right? So you're going to put a gradient into this thing. How to get the gradient tool, and let me get my gradient window. Here, gradient. There it is. Okay, gradient. So I'm going to apply a gradient to it. All right, and I'm going to click, hold, and drag all the way over to here, and I've applied that one gradient there. Now what I need to do is I need to change the colors on this thing. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to my swatches panel, and I'm going to click on this guy right here, and that one is going to be green, okay? And then I'm going to make this one green as well over here, only what I'm going to do is double click on it, and I'm going to change it to, let's see if I can make this HSB, there you go, and I'm going to darken that. I'm going to bring it over to where it's like about like that. Maybe a little bit more. Maybe a little bit more. There, that's good. And now when I deselect that, you can see that I got a different look. See? This one looks like it's stepping, 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 stepping. This one doesn't step. It just kind of goes from this point over in a very smooth way. All right, so there's two ways you could do this, and again, as I say, if you wanted to, you could use either one of them. And my concern here when I do this stuff is all I'm trying to do really is give you some options, give you some things that you could do that you know, makes it an interesting looking logo. All right, that's really what this is all about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click up here. Let me see if I can. First of all, I need to lock this. Go Object, Lock, Selection. Good. And now I'm going to click here and drag across Chateau Vineyards with this. Okay, and I missed a part of it, which is right there. So I'm going to click on that as well. There we go. All right, I want that to be that light bluish color. Okay, so there's my Chateau Vineyard. I also want the wines down here to be that color as well. Whoops, I again, you got to group select. This is a grouped objects. Got to keep in mind that you're doing this with a grouped object. You have to have the group selection tool. I'm also going to apply that color to that. Okay, so there I have my work done on that. Now, what's left here is a couple of things. I have to do my my background, or my I should say my line work. My line work all's got to go white, and I want to do these two trees. So what I think I'll do is I'll do the two trees first. How I do that is I again, remember, got to click on the direct selection tool right there. Direct selection tool. I'm sorry, group selection tool. And you're going to click on that one tree and make that green. And then you're going to click on the next one. You're going to make that green. Then you're going to click on this one. You're going to make that green. And then you're going to click on this one, and you're going to make that green. Then what you're going to do is the two inner ones are lighter and the two outer ones are darker. So I have the outer one on the left-hand side selected. I'm going to hold the Shift key down. I'm going to click on that side. So now I got both of those selected. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my color panel. I think it's out already. Yeah, and change my color panel to HSB. And once again, I'm just going to use my B, or brightness slider, and I'm going to drag the brightness slider over, and I'm going to darken those trees down some. I don't need to go too far with it. They just need to be a little bit darker than the ones next to it, like that. And that looks pretty darn good overall. Okay? So as you can see, this isn't really that difficult to do, and you can come up with something that looks pretty sensational. So now my next object here is to try to get my line work. So I'm going to select my line work. Now, there's a problem. Not all of that line work is selecting, and I'll show you what I'm talking about in just a minute. Bring that back in here. These little windows aren't selecting, but it looks like everything else is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into my swatches panel, and I'm going to fill them. Remember, you got the fill selected. I'm going to fill that with white. And now when I deselect that, that's what it looks like. I got a problem with this though. I'm going to click here, all right, with my group selection tool. I'm going to carefully click here, hold the Shift key down, click here. There are a couple of posts in here, and then there's something up there, and there's one over here. And I can either fill that with brown. Oh, Control Z. Why is it doing that? That's odd. I wonder why that's doing that. How crazy is that? Edit, undo, apply, swatch. Why is that happening? Edit, undo, apply, swatch. Let's try it again. Okay. There. Oops. I think I hit the wrong thing. That's what it is. Yeah, see, I'm hitting the wrong thing. I got to be very careful to click on the right thing. There we go. There we go. All right, I got to be even more careful here because that's a tiny little thing. There we go. Oh, see, no. Edit, undo, apply, swatch. I'm going to zoom in on this because it's really a problem. You got to be very careful what you select here, or you're not going to get it. Go select, deselect. Let's try it one more time. There we go. I think I got it that time. No, I didn't. Edit, undo. Boy, that's a tough one. This is really tough to get. See if I got it that time. There it is. Click on here. There it is. Yeah, good. All right. So it's really just so that you understand. It's just that it's a small area, and if you don't click it just right, you're clicking the other background, and that's why that fills in. Let's go to the View menu and fit Artboard and Window. Okay, so now you can see that this one here is beginning to look remarkably like this one over here. So basically, that's what I'm doing to make mine look like this. And I'm trying to show you how to do it and what tools to use to do it. So now there was one final thing. Let me zoom in on this. There's one final thing. You have a bunch of windows here, and I could literally come in here and I could shift select all of these windows by holding down the Shift key and selecting all of them. But since it's black and there's nothing else on this composition that's black, there's another trick. I can go into the object menu, or I'm sorry, go to the select menu, and choose same fill color. Whoops, same fill color. Now, what happened is, since they're all the same fill color, they all selected. Now, there's a few things down here that seem to be selecting, so let's see what happens with that. And I'm going to click on white, and yeah, so see, it all goes white. That's what I want this to look like. Let's go to the View menu. Let's go Fit Artboard and Window. There is my logo, my emblem. My emblem is essentially done. That's how I produced this one. You can see that by and large it looks almost exactly the same as that. So that's really how I did it. I used the group selection tool. I put something in the background. Now I'm going to go Object Unlock All. I want you to see this because this is where it really makes a lot of sense. I'm going to click on this thing and I'm going to delete that. So you see, the problem is, because there's so much white in that logo, you're not going to be able to see it. It's going to be very confusing. But if I select it, there you can see all the line work for it. See what I mean? Now you could also go to the View menu now, and you can go to Outline, and you can see what this whole thing looks like in Outline. That is what your artwork looks like in Outline. So you know it's all there. You know you're in good shape. But if you go to the View menu and go to GPU Preview, what you're seeing is you're seeing everything, but the white, because the background is white, disappears, and it can be very confusing, and you could say to yourself, oh my goodness, what happened? Well, okay, so there it is. That's how you do this. Now the next step for me would be to delete this thing right here, and I would go to the I would first of all go to my artboard, and I would go to Artboard Options, which is this guy right here. And I'm not going to get my artboard options. Why is that not? Why is that happening? I wonder if I have to select it. Why would that be? Yeah, I don't know. That's really strange. All right, well, I can't seem to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag this in. Drag this artboard in. I want this artboard to be smaller. I want it to be about the size of my art. And I might have overdone it. Let me see in a second. I'll find out. Let's see if I did. No, actually, I'm okay. I can go a little bit closer on the right side. I can come in a little bit on the right side right there. So there you go. I got that basically. I can even come in a little bit more, like about like that. Okay, I can even bring this down a little bit, and I can bring this up a little bit. So now if you take a look at this, okay, your artboard is very close to your art. See it? Now what I want to do is I want to save this piece of art to use in my presentation. I can actually copy and paste this thing. All right. So what I'm going to do is right now I'm just going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to call this my logo CMYK _ final. Okay, final, and hit save. Okay, and hit OK. So now my artwork is ready to be put into my label. So let's go to my label now. Let's go File, Open, and let me find my label. Where are we at? There it is, my label, and here's my label. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this. Show you basically how I produce this thing. All right, so I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to call this my label _ start, and hit save. All right, and hit OK. And if you look in here, I don't have all of my colors. So what I'm going to do, just to make this a little easier for me, because I only have a limited amount of time tonight to do all this, so I'm going to shortcut this a little tiny bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select that color right there, okay, and I believe that that's that color right there, so I'm good. I want this color right there, so I'm going to add that. I'm going to new swatch it, and now come on. Oh, it's just creating it. Okay, delete it. Yes, all right, let me see. So this should be now process color. Yeah, okay, so we're good. Hit okay. There it is. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to click on that color right there. Okay, and I'm going to, there it is. I'm going to new swatch that. And I think that's it. I think that's it. I think it's just those three colors. Let's see what that is. That's a different color as well, so let me put that in there. New swatch that. There we go. Okay, so what I've done basically is I've created these colors. So let me open up File, Open, and let me get the Vineyard, my logo, not my logo, my label. Yeah, there it is. I want that, and I also want File, Open, and I want my logo, Final. I guess that's it. There we go. Okay, so now I got the elements that I need. All right, so this is my start. Okay, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to just delete all of it. All right, and I'm just going to recreate this. Here's my sample. I'm going to just recreate this. So what I did basically using these colors is I assembled this first of all, I decided on a size for my front label and a size for my back label. Okay, that's the first thing I did. And they're approximately the same size, although I think the back label is probably a tiny bit wider than the front label. So let me see if it is. Let me grab this guy and let me bring it over here and let me see. Nope, it's the same width, it's just a little shorter. Okay, so let me put it back over there. Okay, so it's the same width, just a little bit shorter. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create an area of color. And that color is going to be the dark color, I believe. No, I'm wrong. It's not the dark color. It's that color right there, the slightly light color. Okay? And I want to make sure that this fits right on that board size. So I'm going to go right to the edge of that artboard. Right to the edge of that artboard, just like that. Just like that. Get it. There we go. Just like that. There we go. Okay. And then at the bottom, and I don't know exactly how big it is, I'm just going to do it roughly. I produced an area like this at the bottom, okay? And that artboard is going to be also fit to the same size as the other, and that is the darker color. Okay, so now I have that, and if you compare the two, I think that one's a little bit bigger, so I'll make it a little tiny bit smaller. Make it about like that. That probably is pretty close. Yeah, it's close enough, I think. Might be a little bit too big. I can bring it down just a touch more. Okay, bring it down just a touch more. That'll do it. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to bring my logo in. So what I'm going to do is come in here, and since this is an Adobe Illustrator file, and since all of these are Adobe Illustrator file, there's no problem with me just grabbing this thing and copying and pasting it right into my other piece of work. So I'm going to go Edit, Copy, come in here, and I'm just going to go Edit, Paste. And then what I'm going to do is very carefully just walk it over and place it where it should be on my label, which is right about there. Okay, there it is. There's my label. Now what I did do is I got rid of premium wine. I'm going to remove that again tonight. I did remove that last time. So I'm going to, now another thing before I go any further, actually there's something I should do. Let's go in here. First of all, I have backgrounds. This thing here, these are backgrounds, okay? Notice that I have a background layer and I have an image and text layer. So what I want to do is I want to make sure I put my backgrounds on the background layer. It's always good to use layers because see what you can do is you can lock things. Like that layer now is locked. I can come in here carefully and grab that premium wine, although I have to do it with my group selection tool because it's still within that group, right? And I can click on that and I can take the premium wines and I can delete the premium wines for that. Or actually, you know what? Let me just take them and let me move them over to here for now. Let me move them out over there for now. Okay? Up, Control Z. I didn't get part of it. Let me get the whole thing. There we go. Move it over here. All right, and let's go object. Oh, it's grouped already. Okay, now, yeah, so my logo's in place, and I have my backgrounds in place. What's left? I have this Shiraz Cabernet 2004, and then 13% alcohol by volume. So in order to make this thing easier for me, because I don't have this copy, I have this copy, but I don't have this copy, I'm going to have to type it in. What I'm going to do is go to the View menu, and I'm going to go, let's go to Window, Arrange, Tile. And there I've tiled these three. And now that I've actually transferred this piece of art over into my mock-up, I can shut this. I don't need this anymore. Okay? So now I have these two things tiled. And what I want to do is I want to bring them up a little bit so I can see what I'm doing here. There we go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my type tool, and I'm going to come over here with the type tool, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to move this thing into position right about here, and I'm going to double click on it, and I'm going to change it to read SHIRAZCABERNET, and hit enter, and then 2004. Okay, and then I'm going to select this whole thing. If I can grab the whole thing, there we go. And I'm going to go to my paragraph, and I'm going to center align that. And then what I'm going to do is go to my character panel, and I want to format it. Now, I believe the font that I used there was called Lobster. So let me type in L-O-B. Come on, you. Don't crash on me, please. Don't do it. Lobster 1.4. There we go, and there it is. Let me go file save because that scared me. All right, and what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to increase the size of it. So I'm going to go 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, and I think that's too big, so let's go 16, and let's go 19, 18, 17. That's probably pretty good right there. And let's move this thing into the middle. All right, let's get it into about the middle. And it's going to be white. Or actually, I'm sorry, no, it's going to be that color right there, or the darker color. Yeah, the darker color. So that's it right there. Now let me see something here, because I think this is a little lower than it should be on this one. Am I right? It looks like it might be a little higher on this one. No, it's about the same. I'm just wondering, I guess what it is then, I think I probably have a little too much, of that, this area right here. So let me go to my layers, and let me unlock that layer, and let me make that thing just a little tiny bit smaller, because it's a little bit big, I think. There we go. That's probably better. And, oh, jeez, this is such a pain. I'm going to get rid of this thing. Okay. Now I can scroll this thing down, or scroll this thing up. Sorry. There you go. And that is probably a little bit better. Maybe it might come up just a touch, but that's pretty close. Again, my goal here is to not make this 100%, but make it close to the other, so that you get a sense of how I put this together. I made this up. This is part of what you have to put on here. Again, if you refer back to the Word document that you got, which gives you instructions as to how and what you're supposed to be putting on this label, all this information is there. As a matter of fact, I really should take a moment to go in and open this thing and get that. Let's see where I can find that. Is it week 3? Did I put it in week 3? Let's see here. No. Go to packaging. I guess it's in week 1. Let me see. Bottom profiles, folder. Where would you be? Save. Screenshot. Nope. Let's see. Oh, where are we at? Packaging. Where is it? Chateau Vineyard required box. There we go. There it is. Let me open that up because we're going to need that in a minute. So let this thing open up. Here it comes. That should do it. And come on. Slow. There it is. All right. So we'll use that in a minute. So anyway, this is part of the requirement, is that you put a name and a date of the bottling. So this is bottled in 2004, and it's a Shiraz Cabernet. That's what I decided to call mine. Now, the next thing is down below here, I have the alcohol content, and it also has preservative information, which is required. So once again, I'm just going to get my type tool, click, and I'm going to type in 13, and then I'm going to type in 0/0 LCOHOL, alcohol by. Did I have that lowercase? BY, volume, 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 alcohol by volume. All right, and this thing here, what I'm going to do is 13%. That is going to go into my character panel, and that's going to be, where are we at here? Superscript. There we go. Actually, no, it's not superscript. What it is, let me see, it's fractional width. There we go. No, that's not it either. How did I do that? I'm trying to remember how I did that. I applied this with, let's see, superscript, subscript. Yeah, no, that ain't it. Where did I do this? That's it right here, small caps. Well, actually, no, that isn't it. Let me see, what was it? Trying to remember how I did that. I don't use it very often. I'll go with that for the time being. Let me just get this thing. Let me get this thing to the right color. Get that going. Get it over to that color right there. That should be it. And I think it's too big. So let me bring it down in size. Let's bring it down to 12. That's probably pretty good. Center it. All right. And then this is going to be, hit enter. All right. And it's going to be APPROX period 7.7 STANDARDRINKS, enter, and then PRESERV ATIVE preservative 220 edit. Okay, so now I'm going to take this and I'm going to change that. This is going to remain at that lobster, but this, I believe, I used Myriad Pro for. So what I did was I found Myriad Pro. I guess I have to type it in. Let's just type it in. Myriad, MYRIAD, Myriad Pro, P. There we go, Myriad Pro. And it looks like I use semi-bold. Yep, no, and that's too big. So let's bring, actually, I think it's just Myriad Pro regular. Yeah, regular. That's probably what it is. And it's probably, let's make it 9 point, try 9 point. That looks like it might be okay, except that it's the leading has to change. I have to bring the leading up. There we go. Bring the leading up to where it's close. That's probably about where I want it, 9, 10. And then what I want to do here is, I believe I want to go space after on this. All right, so I'm going to select this line, and I'm going to go into paragraph. And I'm going to add a little bit of space after. See? I added just a tiny bit of space after. That's too much. Make it 2. That might be good. Okay, so now what I did literally was I set this type up using the fonts that I chose to use, which is in my case the Lobster. You don't have to use these fonts. You can use whatever font you want, but I use Lobster and I'm using Myriad Pro. Those are the fonts that I'm using. So if let's go to the go to Window, or go to Window, Arrange. Let's tile them. I want to tile them vertically. Float all in window. Consolidate all in windows. There we go. And let's see if I can go to Window, Arrange, Tile. There we go. I wanted to tile them vertically. Now I can close these things. What I can do is I can move this down, and we can get them on screen so you can see the two of them together. There it is. And let's bring this one down, and you can see the other one. Okay, so again, are they exactly the same? No, they're not exactly the same, but they're pretty close. They're actually pretty close. So, you know, the bottom line is that's all I'm going for, is to give you an idea how I created my label. That's the front label. That's the front label. And now I just have to do the back label. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to slide this thing over, and I'm going to get my back label showing. And what we're going to do is we're going to produce the back label. Let me come over here and let me produce my back label. All right, so there's my back label. That's what my back label looked like. So what I did to produce this label was I took, instead of putting the entire logo on it, all right, what I did was I chose this. I chose the Chateau Vineyard right here, all right, and I'm gonna have to get my, I have to scroll this over a little bit more. I have to go to my Layers panel and lock my background layer, and I'm going to get my group selection tool. I'm going to very carefully drag, see, I didn't do it carefully enough. I'm going to drag that like that, okay, and I'm picking up that border, which I don't want, and I'm just going to go edit copy, all right, and then I'm going to come over here, come over here. I didn't get that thing. There we go. I didn't get that thing. There we go. That's what I want. I just want to select that. Edit copy. Then I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to put my background on. Now, that means I'm going to unlock the background layer and select it so that I can come in here with my rectangle tool, or my rectangular shape tool, and come in here and drag out that shape right there. And I'm going to go to my colors, and I'm going to pick that color right there. Actually, it's that color right there. There we go. That's the color. And then I'm just going to go edit paste. And there I've pasted the Chateau Vineyard onto this. I can close that up for a minute, and I can move this thing up into position, which would be somewhere in there. All right. So now that's in position. And, you know, I would center it. I don't know whether it's absolutely centered or not, but it's close enough for our purposes, at least at this point. What you could do is, if you wanted to, you could select both these objects. You could go to the window menu, or maybe I have it out here. Yeah, I have my align panel here, and I can center align them. See, and it's just very slightly modified, and it's now center aligned. And then I'm just going to move that over one. Okay, and then what I think I'll do is, because I didn't use it on the front, I think what I'm going to do is take this premium line, right? And again, you have to use the group selection tool on this. Select this guy, and I'm going to move that into position right here, right there, underneath this guy, premium wines. Chateau Vineyards, premium wines. And actually, I think that looks a little bit better. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my, what I call romance copy. This is the romance copy that I'm going to use on the back of my label. To do that, I get my type tool. I'm going to come in here. Actually, the way I like to do this, I like to actually drag guides out. And I like to put guides, so I'm going to put a guide there. And then I'm going to put a guide over here. And I have two guides out right now. I'm going to get my type tool, and I'm going to click my type tool here. And I'm just going to drag out a shape, a nice big shape, just like that. And it actually fills with copy. And I don't want it to be center aligned. So if I go to my paragraph panel, I can set it to left align. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my character panel, Myriad Pro regular, and I think this is 10 point. I mean, I'm not sure. No, it's not. It's 10, 12. What size is it? Let me see. 8 point. Why is that 8 point? And that doesn't look right here. That's probably because it's, let me see. Control A. And let's go 8 point Myriad Pro. That's very strange. Oh, all right, let me go in here and copy this. Well, anyway, let me get my copy. Let's see if that does it. All right, so tucked in the heart of the Rhone Valley. This is the additional information. I'm calling this romance copy. I'm copying this. Copy it. Come into my Chateau Vineyards, and with this selected, all right, we'll select this and Command V to paste it. Now I pasted it in there. And I don't know what's going on with this, but this is very strange. This does not look like no 10 point Myriad Pro. Not sure what's going on with this. So I'm just going to try to set it to the size and see if I can match it, because something bizarre is happening with this. So first of all, there it is. And what I need to do with this is I need to make some adjustments on the character styling. So it's going to be 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, it's about 16. And yeah, I think it's about 16. That's what it looks like. 16. And it's, what do we have here? Let me go to paragraph. Space after. Okay. All right, well, you know what? There it is. It actually looks pretty close to that, except I think perhaps I used a lighter color. I used the lighter color, which is that. Yeah, there we go. That's good. There it is. Okay, so there's my romance copy, and that's now fitting in underneath this nicely. That leaves me with the government warning. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to select this. I'm going to get rid of some of this box, which I don't need. Bring the box up to about there. I guess I went too far with it. Let me bring it down a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to create another box right here. Create another box right about there. I always make them bigger because you can always reduce them. All right. And this box is actually, type tool, get the type tool, and you're going to make a box with the type tool. Sorry. There we go. Make a box with the type tool. And then I'm going to come up into my Chateau Vineyard, and there's the government warning. Okay. So I'm going to select the government warning like that. I'm going to copy it. Okay. I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to Command A, Control V. I pasted it in. All right, now this government warning, right after the semicolon, I'm going to hit Enter. So now I have 1 and 2, and also what I did was 1 and 2. I'm bringing the 2 down, Enter. So I have government warning, and I'll make this white, or I'll make it that light color so that you can see it. Let me come in here and let me set it to white so you can see it. There, you can now see it, but you can see it's way too big. So what I'm going to do with this is going to first of all going to get my character, and it's Myriad Pro regular. That's fine. I'm going to bring it down 16, 15, 14, 13, 12. I believe 12. Nope, smaller. 10. That's too small. I think whoops. Let me try 10. All right, I think what it is I believe this is 11. 11. Seems to be taking up an awful lot of space. I'm not exactly sure just why that is. Let's go to paragraph here. Yeah, it's really strange. Why is it doing that? Okay. All right. And then after here, this is going to be bold. All right. That should be bold. Actually, I think you know what it is? I think it's all medium. That's what I think it is. I think that's medium. Medium, it's medium, semi-bold. Yep. And then I think this was actually, yeah, that's right, bold. That was bold. I'm just trying to remember what I did. So this is bold. Yep. And then this was actually medium italic. That's what it is. So this would be semi-bold italic. There we go. And then it would be a little bit more open. It would be 8 point. There we go. And then there would be some space after. So I would take this and I would add a little bit of space after. That's paragraph. So I'd come in here and add a little tiny bit of space after that, just like that. Not a lot. And I would do the same thing here. You know, I'd select these two and I'd add just a little bit of space after that as well. And now let's see if that looks more like the other. And it really does. It looks a little bit more like the other. Okay? But the important thing to understand about this is that the government warning must appear on the back of the label. Doesn't necessarily have to be big. It can be smaller. If I wanted to, I could even make this smaller. But it is noticeably smaller than this. And as a matter of fact, now that I look at this, I probably want to open up the leading on that just a little bit as well. Open up the leading on that just a little bit as well. Yeah, and then I'll have to adjust that box to get it to open. I don't want it to be too tight. Yeah, and it's still not exactly right. So I'm going to come in and make it up a little bit more. Let's go 12. I think that's probably okay right there. That's good. And now I can move this box down a little bit, like that. Right about there is good. There we go. And that is my, let's go to the view menu and let's go to guides, hide guides. There we go. So there you can see my background label, or my back label is coming together. That leaves me with two things, my barcode and my produced and bottled by Chateau Vineyards, Napa Valley. So somewhere in here, I have a barcode. So let me go File, Open, and let's see if I can locate my barcode. So if I go in my desktop, let's go to DES-244. Where's my barcode? I'm trying to remember where it is, actually. Let's see, is it in week 3? Barcode, barcode, barcode. You see it? I know it's here somewhere. Week 3, let's go to week 2. Week 1. Die lines, do folder, bottle. Nope. Wow. I thought of everything, but I guess I didn't. That's additional requirements. Let's see here. Oops. No. That's not what I wanted to do. Okay. Now let me go in here for a second. Let me find it. Give me a second. I actually totally forgot about the barcode. Additional requirements. Let's see here. Nutritional facts. It's not in there. Where's my barcode? Oh boy, this is such a pain. Barcode right there. Let me drag that out and put it on the table or on the desktop real quick. And let's go back here. Found it. So let's come in and let's go to this. And let's go File, Place. And on my desktop is my barcode and place. There's my barcode. It's evidently very big. So let me see if I can reduce the size of this thing. I don't even know where it is. Let's see if I can get it. Bring it up and see if I can see this thing. It's here somewhere. There it is. There's my barcode. So I'm going to make the barcode smaller. Just drag it down and make it smaller. Give me a second to do this. There it is. My barcode. Bring it down. I can make it real small, then I can adjust it. It's close. That's pretty close. Let's get it down a little bit smaller. Okay, that's probably pretty good. Let's bring it in here. The barcode can go in about like that. I could probably make it a little bit smaller. Shift, bring it down, make it a little bit smaller. That's probably good right there. There we go. Move it over and move it into position. There it is. There's my barcode. That'll work. And then what I need to do is just produced and bottled by Chateau Vineyards. I don't know. Is that on here? Let's see. Where would you be? Produced and bottled by Chateau. There we go. I'm going to select this, copy it, and then I'm going to create another little frame right there with my type tool and Command V, and I placed it in there. And let's produced and bottled by Chateau. Oh, I guess I didn't get it all. Oh no, I see what it is. It's overset. There we go. Okay. So let's format this guy now. Let's get this thing formatted. Let's start off by making it the right color, which will be that light color right there. And it looks to me like I used Myriad Pro for that. Myriad Pro regular, I think. Regular. We'll try regular. And let's go 12. That's probably pretty good. And let's make this produced and bottled by should be smaller. Produced and bottled by should be smaller. Make that a little bit smaller. 16, 15, 14. There we go. That's probably good. And if I'm not mistaken, we want to add, and that, I guess, I don't know, maybe it actually is medium, not, or semi. Could be semi. Yeah, that's what it is. It's semi. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some space after. Go to paragraph, add some space after. Oops, that ain't working. All right. I think I know why it is. Let me go back here. Enter. There we go. Now let's try it. Let's see if I got it now. Space after. Yeah, there we go. There we go. That's probably good like that. And then let's come in here and let's open this guy up. Let's go in here to character. There we go. That's a little bit better. There. And then I'm just going to move it into position, bring it down a little bit, bring it over a little bit, and then I can maybe adjust this over just a touch and down a little bit. Actually, no, it's probably good right there. So there it is. There's the back of my label. And I don't know, I'm looking at this, and this copy in white is too, I think it's too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the whole thing. Instead of making that white, I'm going to go back up to this, and I'm going to use that slightly light color. There you go. See, I think that looks a little bit better. And I'll probably move this up just a touch. Okay, give it a little bit more clearance. There we go. That's probably pretty good right there. Okay, so now let's just go window, arrange, cascade in all windows. There we go. So here it is. Let's go view, fit all in window. There is my label. That's basically what I did to create my front and back label. Okay? So once you have your labels created, the next step is to prepare the artwork to go onto your 3D model. And let's see here, what we got? So we got that one here. This is it. This is that one. Okay, so let's see. Let's go to View, Fit Artboard in Window. Or actually View, Fit All in Window. There we go. So you know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm going to ditch this one. All right? And I'm going to go with the one that I just did. This is the one that I just made. So what I think I'm going to do with this is I'm going to show you how to get ready to make the 3D model with this. All right? So the important thing to understand is that when you create a 3D model, the only way that you can create a 3D bottle model in Adobe Illustrator is the way that I showed you how to do it, which was to create a an edge or a profile of the bottle by rendering it, and then revolving it, 3D revolve, and then applying the symbols, which we're going to do next. That's our next step, is to take these labels and turn them into symbols. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do to make this happen is I'm going to open this up, verify that there's no layers locked. I want to be able to select everything, so no layers are locked. That's what I want to see. I'm going to start off by going to my symbols panel. Now, right now there's no symbols in my symbols panel, which is a good thing, because I honestly don't want any symbols in there. I'm going to create a symbol out of this, and I'm going to create a symbol out of this. Then I'm going to render my bottle. I'm going to bring my symbols in, and I'm going to apply my symbols to the bottle, and I will have a 3D rendered bottle that has my symbols on it. Okay? So to do that, what you do first is you're going to select everything that's on that label right there. I don't want the whole thing. So let's see if I can do this. Let's go, hold on, let's go Object, Ungroup. Okay, so let's see if that worked. Yes, it did. Okay, yes, it did. So here's the problem, though. Let's see, I got some things that I don't like. First of all, I don't like seeing that. Let's get that out of here. This thing here, I'm not exactly sure why that's doing what it's doing. All right, let's, oh man, yeah, edit, undo. All right, let me do this. Let me just go Object, Expand. Let's see if I can expand it. Let's rasterize it. Yeah, okay. Oh, that didn't work either, did it? Edit, undo. Oh, boy, this is a pain because I don't want all that extra around there. Let's go to Object, Image Trace, Make, and let's see if I can get, you know what? Just because this is giving me trouble, let me do this. Let me go File, Open, and let me get my other one. Let me go to my, let me open my barcode up here, and let me see what I got here. Okay, so let me go Edit, Cut. All right, and let me go into this, and let me go Edit, Paste. There we go. Okay, that's much better. Now what I can do is I can scale this thing. All right, scale this guy down. Let me see if I can scale it down. I'll hold the Shift key down, bring this thing down to about there. There we go. Now we're in business. I think that's better. That is better. Now let's see if I select this. Okay, good. The reason I did what I did was because I had boxes that were going off the background, and they would have interfered with my application of my symbols. I didn't want my symbols to be hanging off. Let me check this one to make sure that everything's good on this one. That one is good. See, there's nothing hanging off that background. Okay. All right. Now I'm ready to make my symbols. So what I want to do, let me do one little quick thing here. Just one thing. Let me make this a little tiny bit. Drop it down just a touch. There we go. Okay. I'm going to select this. I'm going to go Object, Group. So I've grouped this thing, and I'm going to do the same with this one. I'm going to go Object, Group. So now I have a group. Select it, I know everything's selected. Select it, I know everything's selected. So, open up my Symbols panel, select it, click on it, drag it, and drop it into the Symbols panel. I get the Symbol Options dialog box. And what I'm supposed to do here is I'm supposed to set up a couple of things to define the symbol. So the first thing I'm going to do is name it. I'm going to call this back label BK_LABLE, back label, and it's going to be a graphic. I'm going to leave it with the center registration, and I'm just going to hit OK. Now what happens is the symbol is created in the Symbols panel, and this piece of art, which was a grouped piece of art, becomes an instance of the symbol. So this is no longer the actual art that I had. That's been moved into here. And this thing is just an instance. You can tell it's an instance because in the center, instead of having a little dot, see where there's a little dot on this one? it has a little cross. That means it's an instance. We have to have symbols and we have to have instances so that we can apply them to the bottles that we render. Okay? So it's important that you understand this. I'm going to click on this is a group, drag it, and I'm going to drop it into here. And once again, I get the Symbols Options dialog box, and I'm going to call this front label, F-R-N-T-L-A-B-L-E, front label, and I'm going to call it a graphic symbol, and I'm going to leave it in the center location for its registration point, and hit OK. Once again, this is now where your original art is, and this has become an instance. So now both of these are instances of the actual labels. These instances are what we're going to be using to put into our bottles. So the next step is to render a bottle. I'm gonna hit save on this right now, and I'm just gonna go File, Open, and I'm gonna open up my. Let's go to my desktop, and let's go to where are we at here? It's here we go. Let's go to my wine bottles with labels. There it is. There's my wine bottles with labels. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I've done this before, but I'm going to do it again. And the reason I'm doing it again is because I want to make sure that you really understand how I'm doing this. This is the hardest, I think, in my opinion, this is the hardest part of the whole thing. It's not really that difficult. You just got to watch what I do. All right. So the first thing is I'm going to render a profile. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to draw a profile of this bottle. That's all I'm going to do. And I'm not going to draw a profile or outline the whole thing. I'm only going to do half of it. You only need to do half of it to make a 3D rendering. So what I have to do is go to the View menu and go to Rulers and show my rulers. And I have to bring a guide out. And I'm going to place the guide approximately in the middle of that bottle right there. So it's in the middle of the bottle. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in at the top here so that I can do this a little bit at a time. And I'm going to get my rounded rectangle tool, and I'm going to come beyond that center line, click, hold, and I'm going to drag out a shape that looks about like that. Okay? Then I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to click, I'm going to come over here, I'm going to drag out another shape, only this time I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the radius of the corners. The reason how I'm doing this is I'm using the up and down arrow, and I think I'm going to leave it right about like that, only I'm going to move it up like that and move it in just a tiny bit like that, about like that. And I also noticed that it's a little bit too big. I actually got to go up a little higher, right about there. And this is too big, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just drag it up to about right there. Okay? So I actually have these two little shapes that I created. Really simple stuff. I'm not making this hard. I'm trying to make it simple. Also, it should probably come down just a touch more right there. That's good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the regular rectangle tool, and I'm going to come over here, and I'm just going to drag out a regular old rectangle until I reach that point right there, right like that. And I'm making it a little bit short. So you see what I'm doing? See how I'm creating that shape right there? And this actually could probably come over a little bit, right about like that's good. Okay? So now what I want to do is I want to turn those three shapes into one shape, and then what I want to do is I want to make it an open shape. So the first thing that I'm going to do is, what I should really do is go to my layers panel, and I have my layer here, which is my background layer. I'm going to call this my trace. All right, that's my trace layer. And these three objects here are the objects that I'm rendering. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that they're up on that layer right there so I can lock that trace layer. Okay, and then I'm just going to call this my profile layer. Profile layer. So now I have a profile layer. See how I hide it? And there's my trace layer. Okay? Right. So now what I want to do with this is I want to select all three of those guys, And I want to go to my Pathfinder panel, right there. And what I want to do is I want to choose Unite. And now if you look at this, it's united those three things into one piece. Okay? So that's a good thing, because now I'm basically ready to go. Now the only thing I probably want to do with this, and it doesn't look like I got that third one. Let me try it again. There we go. Okay, now I got it. I have my three pieces. And what I want to do with this is I want to make that kind of a golden color. So what I could do is come over here and just click on this and make it a golden color. There's a golden color right there. It might be a little bit dark, so I probably want to modify this some. Let me come into here and let's see if I can enrich that color a little bit. That's probably good right there. Okay, so now I have this color, and I only want it to be on the stroke, not the fill. I need this shape to be an open shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to where the eraser is right here, and I'm going to choose the scissors tool. Now what the scissors tool will do, let me zoom in on this and you can see it a little bit better. What the scissors tool is going to do for me is it's going to allow me to sit right over top of my guideline and click and cut that shape. And I'm going to do the same thing right here. I'm going to come over right over that guideline and click and cut that shape. Now what I should be able to do is come over here and click on that piece and delete it. And now watch what happens. When I come over to my layers panel, if I hide my background layer, you see what I did? I created that cap. That's the shape that I want to use for the cap of my bottle. That's all there is to it. It's really not that difficult. Now, the bottle itself is a little tiny bit more difficult, but not impossible to do, and we're going to do that right now. So let me bring this back, and let me view, fit, artboard, and window, and let me get over onto this one, and let's try to build our bottle. Now, really, the bottle only has to go up behind the cap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my pen tool, right? And I'm going to come over here right about to that point right there, and I'm going to click on that guide, and I'm just going to come over until I'm right about at the point where and I'm going to hold the shift key down, come right over to about where that line is, and then I'm going to come down to about here, right? And I'm going to make sure I'm staying inside that cap. So I want to keep it right inside that cap, just inside that cap. Click, and then I'm going to come over to here, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to drag to create a curving line like that. Okay? And then I'm going to come back up here, and I'm going to click on this. See, I could also try to come over here, but can you see when I do that, I don't get a good shape. See how that curves out and swells out and looks really weird? I can't use that. So I come over that anchor point right there, and when I sit on top of it, you see the little reverse V? When I click on that, that anchor point changes so that I can now come down to this point right here, click, hold, and drag, and I can create another shape that follows the contour the way that I want the contour followed. Just sort of like that. And then I can come down here if I want, because that's a straight line segment, and click again. Then if I want, I can just come over to about here and click to create my little wraparound line. This is where the thing's going to wrap around the corner. Something along the lines of this will do. I'm going to try to get it about right where I want it. Probably good right there. There we go. And then I'll click on this. And then I'll come over to the line here. Double click. And then I have my shape. Let me hide it. And there's my shape. Now this bottle is probably okay, although I can see it's a little hooky here. It's not exactly a very clean line there, but I can fix that. What I can do is I can come in here, and where is it now? Let me find it. The smooth tool. I can come over here and I can select this guy, okay? And I can take the smooth tool and I can try to drag the smooth tool over this, and you see how that smoothed it a little bit? By just dragging it right over top of that, it smoothed it out a little bit. That's all I had to do. I didn't have to go crazy with it. It smoothed it out just a little tiny bit. Now I'm going to go back to my trace layer, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get me a bottle color. So this bottle colors are very dark, so I don't know how well this is going to work, but we'll give it a shot anyway, and we'll see. I don't want it to be fill. I want it to be a stroke. All right, so let's try it with that. I'm going to probably end up having to change that color. Let's hide the background, and there is my bottle. I'm going to select the bottle, okay, and I really should do it in two pieces. Let me click on the bottom part first and go to the Effect menu and go to 3D, and let's go to Revolve. And then I'm going to hit Preview, and it revolves that bottle. Let's hit OK for now. There's my bottle. It's been revolved. Let's do the cap. Click on the cap and go to Effect, and let's go to 3D, and let's go to Revolve. And we'll hit Preview, and there it is, and hit OK. Now, there are two problems. Actually, there's only really one problem, because I kind of like that black now that I look at it. The problem is, though, that the orientation of these two objects are wrong. The cap should be in front of the bottle. That's easy to fix. All you have to do is select that cap and go Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. And there, I brought it to the front, and there's my bottle. Go to the View menu and go to Guides and Hide Guides. Now, so why did the bottle cap appear behind the bottle? The reason the bottle cap appeared behind the bottle was because it was the first thing that I rendered. And whenever you work in Adobe Illustrator will, it has a stacking order. So as you work on something, when you work on something that's in front of something else, or if I did the cap first, that's the first object. When I do the bottle, that's the second object, and that second object is in front of the first object. So that's why that is. And again, you can easily do what I did, which just was go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. So now I have my bottle rendered. And now what we want to do is we want to apply, so let me go File, Save, all right? And let me go back to my barcode we're done with. So let me close that, save it, no. Let me go back to my labels. Okay, so now what I have here, I have my labels, and I need to bring my labels into my wine bottle with labels work, because I need the symbols to go in there. So I'm going to start by grabbing this one. Let's go Edit, Cut, and let's go into here, and let's go Edit, Paste. There it is, okay? And now the important thing for you to understand is that here's this thing, here's this label that I just brought in, and I told you that it's an instance. But if you take a look in the Symbols panel, there it is, my front label. So really what's important here is that the front label came in not only on my desktop, the instance came in, but the original symbol came in. That's what's most important. I'm going to delete this because I don't need it right now. Let's go back to my labels, and let me click on this, and let's go Edit, Copy, and let's go to this one, and let's go Edit, Paste. Now when I go Edit, Paste, take a look at the Symbols panel and watch what happens. There. Can you see it came right in on the Symbols panel? So there's your symbols. This is what you're looking for, and we'll hit delete on that. All right. Now let me go Edit, Undo, Cut, and let me go File, Save, or let me close this because we don't need this anymore, because we're now on to this thing. All right. So here's the thing. I'm not going to be doing anything to that cap. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be attempting to render my labels on this bottle. Okay. Now the last time I tried to do this, I had trouble getting it to go on the front and the back. So I'm going to take a precaution, and I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to go Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste in place, and then I'm just going to walk this over, and this is going to be my backup in case I run into a problem rendering both labels on one bottle. Okay. If I can't do that, then I'm going to just render them on one on each. So here's the deal. I don't really need to select this top because the top is not going to be messed with. The top is essentially done. the work that I'm going to be doing is going to apply to the bottle, and that's going to be, I'm going to try to put these labels on that bottle. So what I'm going to do with this guy is, in order to do this, I need to go to the window menu, and I got to get my appearance panel out. There's my appearance panel right there. The reason I need my appearance panel is because whenever you select an object, you'll get the features of that object. So for instance, here's my stroke color. I'm going to double click on this, and what I'm going to do is, let's see if I can, I really can't do that. I can only add a color to it. So watch what happens. You see how that changed? I don't want it to change. I want it to go back to that. That blue is kind of nice too. I'll maybe leave that blue. Everybody, let's go edit undo. And let's go edit undo again, and let's bring it back to black. Okay, but what I really want to do here is, with this selected, just this bottom area selected, just the bottom profile selected, I want to click on 3D Revolve. That'll bring up the 3D Revolve dialog box. I want to hit preview so that that applies the effect to it. I then want to go into map art. And what I can do with this now is, this is where you got to be very careful. Here's my icon. This is the icon that shows me what I'm working with. But if you look over here, you can see that there's a red outline showing me a surface. And there are 12 surfaces here. So it's now up to me to very carefully try to figure out where my surface is to apply my label. So I'm going to start going in this direction here, and I'm going to look at this right here. And I'm going to watch the red icons change, and I'm looking for the surface. There's my surface. That's the surface that I think I want my label on. Let's try it. There's my front label, and it looks like that might be on the back label. So let me go and change it to the back label. All right, let me change it to the back label, and let me see if I can maybe make this thing a little bit bigger. And see, again, I can't tell you whether that's on the back label or not. And whoops, oh my goodness. Oh, geez. Let me just get rid of that. All right, let me try it again. Back label. There we go. Let me bring it on here. Let me see if I can get this thing to go a little bit bigger. Okay. Oh, wow. This seems just nightmarish. There we go. Okay, let me continue around. Let's see if we can get to the front. There's the front. Let's see if this is the front. And there it is. So I was right. That was the back label. This is the front. So let me bring this on to the front. There it is. And I'm going to make it bigger. There we go. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger this way. Yeah, see, a problem that I'm having with this is that the area here, there's an anchor point right there that's cutting me off, that's killing me. So I'm going to have to make this a little bit smaller to get the whole thing on there, which is not making me very happy, actually. Yeah, I don't like my labels to be that small, but they'll have to be in this case just because of the nature of my... Ooh, that's really bad. Yeah, that's not good at all. Yeah, oh, it's really cutting that off. My goodness. All right, it's going to have to be like that, I guess. I guess that's it. I'm stuck. Probably should use my other bottle, but that's okay. This will give you an idea. Now, what I want to do here is, so my back label, let's go back to my back surface. There's my front label. There's my back label, and this back label is going to have to be made smaller too. I'm going to have to make that thing smaller to make that thing fit. And again, I'm blindly doing this. I have no idea. Let's hit OK. And let me see if I rotate this guy around. Let me see if I can see that back label on there. Yeah, see, I'm not seeing the back label. So, yeah, okay. So let's, yeah, so that's the problem that I ran into last time. So let me hit cancel, and let me try it one more time, and let me just put that front label on this one, and then what we'll do is we'll put the back label on the other bottle. Or actually, I'll put the back label on this one. So let me go up. Let me find my surface. There we go. And let me put the back label on this. There we go. All right, let me move the back label into position and move it up. Move it like that. That's pretty good. That's good. Trying to get it placed nicely. Not bad. I think I probably should make it a little wider. Yeah, I can make it a little bit wider still, because it looks a little distorted to me. I don't know why, but I'll make it a little bit wider. That's better, I think. Personally, I think that looks better. Okay, hit OK. So, and hit OK. There's my back label. And now I'm going to put the front label on this one because, again, I'm running into that problem where it's not letting me put the label on the front and the back. So with 3D Revolve this thing and map the art, or hit preview, map the art, and then we'll find the surface, which is, I believe I just passed it. There it is. And I'm going to put the front label on. There it is. And let's move the front label into position, which is about like that. Move it up, down, over a little bit. Okay, and I have to distort that as well. It's a little bit on the narrower side. That's probably good. Hit OK. Hit OK. And there it is. There is my label on the back of my bottle and the wine label on the front of my bottle. Okay? So that is the actual project. Again, the first part of the project is to create the label, right? You're going to, actually part one, I'm sorry. Part one is the finishing up. Let me go file open again. And let me get back to this. This is my, there it is right here. So basically, this is part one, where you're actually going to finish your detailed composition of your package. Now, again, Emily, I'm not trying to be a pain, but the problem I have is that you haven't submitted week 2, so you haven't really created this box that I've seen yet, and I need that box created so that I can critique it. And if I can't critique it, you're not going to get any credit for that part of this assignment. So you really need to get that box done, and you need to get a rough layout of the box done as well. And you have to get that to me as soon as possible. Then this week you have to finish this box up, and then you're just going to move into, go to File, Open. The next step would be the my logo. Let me see here. Actually, it's my labels. So oh, here it is. Let me see. There. Oh, no, where is it? File. Where's my labels? File, Open. Box, Chateau. There it is, right there. So this is really the assignment. This is really the assignment. The assignment is for you to create those labels. Now, one other thing I just want to quickly show you is what I did. I have some wine bottles here. Let me see if I can find them. Week 3. Yeah, here we go. Bottle label back. Let it open. I just took a camera shot. I just took a camera shot of a bottle of wine that I have. I just happen to have this wine in my house, and I just took a camera shot of this bottle of wine so that I could get a sense of what that bottle of wine with that label looks like. And I did the same thing for the front. Okay, so really, only reason I did this was so that I could get some perspective. That's really what it was all about. So whether you do this or not is totally up to you. But I'm trying to give you ideas as to how you can go about doing this to give yourself a break and make it a little bit easier for you. All these little visual things like finding a bottle of wine and maybe photographing a bottle of wine. Or I'll go back to my Illustrator. I'll go back to Illustrator. Let's go back to my bottle, which is, I guess, this guy right here. Let me go view, fit artboard in window, or fit all in window. There we go. And I think if I go to my layers, let me hide that layer and bring back the trace. Come on, you. Oh, man. Jeez, what is the problem? Why are you giving me so much trouble tonight? Well, I don't know. It doesn't seem to want to open that up. I guess it's because it's got 2 bottles rendered. That might be what it is. And there's 2 other files open. Let me just close these things. Save changes. No. Let me close this. Yeah, I think that's probably because there's too many things open. That's probably what it is. Let's try it now. There we go. That's what it was. There was too many things open. So my point is that, you know, whether you take a photograph of a bottle that you have in your house, which is one thing I did, or whether you go online, this is the other thing I did. I went online and I found this photograph of a bunch of bottles. And then I just basically had more than enough. At this point, I had more than enough reference that I could use to go in and render the bottles that I could then apply my label to. So what I'm trying to do is give you as many ideas as you possibly can have as to how you can approach doing this to keep your aggravation and your craziness down to a minimum as best you can. The most important thing, though, is to get your package finished, and you need to get a rough done, and you need to get your layout done, and you need to get that into me so that I can grade it. If I can't grade that, then I can't grade the second part of it, which is, you know, your refinement. And then, of course, you have to create the labels. Once you create the labels, you can either this week render it onto a bottle, or you can wait until next week to render it onto a bottle. I guess that kind of wraps me up for tonight. I, again, urge you to give me a call or to send me an email. I haven't heard from you, and I'm very concerned about you. So please contact me. I appreciate it. Thank you, and have a good night.